A few people trickling in here, but looks like over 35 participants right now. That's a great number. So I will let Sheila kick us off with introductions. We have a great team here. Excited for this session. It's really just a great dashboard. So a lot of amazing data minds are coming together have come together to work on this and to share it today and give you guys some guidance. So take it away, Sheila.
Great. Yep. So thank you. Welcome. I'm Sheila Ainley from the Provost Office, and I'll be kicking us off today. Welcome to our presentation of the new Executive Retention and Graduation Rate Dashboard. The team presenting today is listed there. It's Mary Carrillo from Institutional Analysis, Jenna Graham from New College, and Todd Kemper and David Davis from UTO. Next slide. So our presentation today will cover sort of the overriding purpose of the dashboard, the process we use to develop it. We'll have a demo of the dashboard, have a bit of discussion of our future plans, and then we'll leave time for Q&A. Next two slides. So the Academic Enterprise Dashboard project grew out of a convening of associate deans, EOSS leaders, and college and provost analysts working to identify data and reporting needs. This specific dashboard, as the first step in the larger project, was designed to meet the needs of academic leaders, especially the deans. Jenna's work in New College and her dean sharing that work with his colleagues guided our efforts, and it led to the creation of more visualized presentation of the data while we still retain the more tabular dashboards as well. Next slide. The project is sponsored by the Provost Office and UTO and is a collaborative work, as I described before, of institutional analysis, UTO, college representatives with special support from Jenna Graham. And the members of all the folks who are involved in its development are listed on this slide. Next slide. So with this first foray into our academic enterprise dashboards, we've worked to raise the bar on the quality and functionality of our dashboard work. What you will see today in the demo hopefully will be evidence of our efforts to raise the bar. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to Jenna.
Thank you, Sheila. Like Sheila mentioned, the New College Retention Dashboard sort of served as an inspiration for the amazing Executive Retention Dashboard that you'll see in just a few moments. So what I'd like to share is really the inspiration for the New College Retention Dashboard that really started several years before we actually made the dashboard. I've been in New College for 19 years now and spent about 15 years of that doing recruitment and retention work. And of course, over the years, we utilized data for those efforts. About 5 years ago, my boss at the time had really decided that we really needed to shift to having a staff person who solely supported the team as far as data needs. And so, as you can see, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint were really the tools that I used to kind of share data with the rest of the team. We had staff and faculty and administrators all working together for recruitment or retention efforts. So if we want to go ahead and progress the screen one, you'll see our early attempts at dashboards. I'm sorry that some of these aren't so clear, but I think you'll be able to see kind of what we were trying to get at. So I'll start first with the upper left-hand corner here. And essentially this was produced at the direction of our dean. And what he essentially wanted, let's see if I can direct you a little bit. Can you guys see me drawing a circle around that section there? Okay, great. So this was our early attempts at a dashboard. It was created in Excel, PowerPoint, um, and Word. As you can imagine, it was quite time consuming. But essentially, what the dean wanted to do is make sure that his executive team had access and understood their data as far as enrollment, year over year growth, a breakdown of enrollment by academic standing. As we move down, on the left, you can see an example of us trying to integrate multiple types of visualizations into one page. And we've got some enrollment trends, as well as student demographics, as well as some information on our top feeders. This was created for our college's retention team, which also includes staff, but also student leaders. And the goal there was really for us to understand our trends, but also understand who our student population was at the time, and also some useful information for even our recruitment team, which worked pretty closely with retention as far as our who our feeders were. If you move over to the right, this was an in-house data cheat sheet, if you will, created at the request of our assistant dean, who often at the time found that she needed to have data at her fingertips as she went from different executive meetings. And her early request was to put this onto the size of a business card, which just wasn't going to work. We tried to do it on a half sheet and ultimately needed to put it on an 8.5 of 11 sheet. But I think the goal here was people need to have this data at their fingertips. They need to have it on hand at meetings. What the attempts here were really to provide perspective for the teams as they get together to kind of focus on different areas. If you compare the two sides, the right side versus the left side, even with the two comparison there, they all have a lot of information, but when you're looking at the right hand side, you don't really know where to focus. There's just a lot of information, though useful, but there's not really an area for figuring out where you should focus. There's a little on the left hand side, you see a little bit more of where you can kind of hone in on, whether it's the year over year growth where you see the plus 11%, or you could at least have some areas where you can start to focus. But again, these were early attempts of trying to really convey a lot on one page, but also make it so that the user could take this with them if needed. So again, all of these times consuming, but useful at the time. So we can forward to the next screen and show you some other. So Tableau. So in 2018, fast forward to 2018, and I met Tableau, and it was a wonderful relationship from the start. My dean at the time also learned about Tableau and was very instrumental in making sure that I could have access to it. And it was wonderful. Tableau allowed me to focus a lot less on the cutting and pasting from the different applications and trying to piece everything together, and really allow me to spend more time telling the story that the different that the team needed to hear. And if we go ahead and progress over to the next slide, we'll see this is the retention dashboard that we ultimately came up with. And at the time, we didn't have a visualization dashboard at our fingertips that could show us all of this information all at once. And what was very helpful for me, like I said, it cut down the time, but it also could bring everybody together on one page. This dashboard is used by my dean, but also the retention team, as well as our academic directors. Each new college is broken down into 3 schools. And so each school has their own version of this dashboard. The dashboard that you're seeing here is much more general and doesn't focus on a specific school in the college. But I will walk you just briefly. This is a picture. It's not the live dashboard. If you have the live dashboard in Tableau, as you hover over, there will be tooltips that'll give you more information so that we can hide some of that and not make the dashboard as busy. But ultimately, what you see here is a lot of what was included in those previous the examples. We've got the trends data. We have some demographic data and just lots of detail. So at the top here, we kind of have our call to action and information for the team to see. We're at 91%. We have 391 students who are re-enrolled. And as you see, the color will correspond with the exception of this section here in the middle. I don't know if you can see my pointer, and I don't think I'm going to draw. But for the most part, the gold corresponds with students being re-enrolled, and you can see that in the map as well. The maroon is corresponding with students who are not re-enrolled, and the 431 is our entire cohort, and then we've got our goal here to reach 90%, which we met 4 students ago. So this really is just a snapshot of here's where we are, and then we can get into the rest of the dashboard. So on the left-hand side, we have upper left-hand, we're looking at retention by college. And so new college, we can see how we're faring with the rest of the university. And we can see ourselves here. As you hover over, we see more information about the colleges. As we scroll down on the left, we see retention to ASU by major. And as we move even farther down the dashboard, we can see retention not only to ASU, but the retention to the major. Do we have any majors that are bleeding, meaning are students leaving the college? And so that information definitely useful to our academic directors, but as well as our retention team who may decide to do events or outreach specifically to certain majors that may be bleeding. As we move to the middle of the dashboard, we see our year-over-year trends. And something that you'll notice in this dashboard as well is the coloring. The formatting is really conditional formatting. This was requested by our dean. The conditional formatting really helps you to kind of see those hotspots. The red that stands out, you see at different parts of the dashboard. But here, this visualization is telling the story as well. Not only do we see the year-over-year growth for retention. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dave, for hovering over there. We can see the thickness of the line. As the line gets thicker, our cohort is getting larger. And so we can see that our retention, we've got nice and dark green, our retention is growing. As our retention gets greater, so does our cohort is growing as well. So trying to tell a lot of different information in this small little package with just this little piece here. As we move down the dashboard, we can see retention by our 3 different schools. As we continue, we can see retention by state. And as you hover over, though you can't see it in this demonstration, each little bubble represents a student. And you can see information as far as the student's high school that they're coming from, what their starting major was, what their current major is, and other demographic information about the student, which is helpful not only to our retention team, but also our recruitment team. While most of the dashboard covers first-year students, we also have a small section that focuses on our continuing students, and that's what you see at the bottom of the central section here. If we move up to the right, we can see retention by high school. And so we can look at that. Do we need to focus on, do we have any high schools where retention is particularly low? This is helpful for the retention team to possibly outreach, or the recruitment team to see, where are our retention hotspots as far as high school. We also, as we move down, have retention by academic level, as well as retention by campus, so that we can see how our campus is faring along with the other campuses. As we continue down the dashboard, we have retention by CI band, or calculated index. And this is also conditionally formatted. And what we had seen over the years with our CI bands is that 103 and below, for new college, typically we struggled in that area as far as retention. What we were able to see in this visualization here, though it's a table, but the conditional formatting shows us, wow, yeah, we're right. You can see a clear line between the 108 and above and the 107 and below. Just kind of helping to confirm some things that we had seen in the data. We also have here at the bottom right corner, retention by ethnicity. And what we saw here is that our Black African American, the retention level of 80%, 81%, helped us to add a filter. If you see right at the top, we added a filter by ethnicity so that we could, dig deeper into that and see, is this something we're seeing with other colleges as the dashboard can filter in that way. What's also nice about this is that, again, you can print this on a page. The team can take this dashboard to a meeting and, basically jump into action, figure out the different pieces where they want to focus on at a time. So we can go ahead and head to the next slide, which basically just shows you some examples of the tooltip. So as we hover over, this is what you would see. Additional details about the dashboard that we don't want to include so we don't clutter the dashboard up, but individual information, we can see, okay, we're up 7% from this time last year. We can go to the next slide. Okay, again, even looking at retention by high school, this is an example of the tooltip that you would see. It'll get deeper into showing us the cohort sizes, which you don't actually see from the front of the page, but you see it in the tooltip. And we can go ahead to the next slide. And so an example of the retention by major, where we can look deeper into, okay, so 75% of our forensic science majors did not leave our college. You can go ahead and move forward. So sometimes one dashboard begets another dashboard, and that's what you're seeing here. As we focused on our entire first year cohort, we found that we needed to focus on just those 40 students that were not re-enrolled. And so what we have here is just that. We could look at our 40 students and we have data visualized in different ways. We have qualitative and anecdotal responses that we've put into the dashboard. And these are coming from notes from our peer mentors or our retention team, could also be advising. We also take a look at our retention by state, and now we're just focusing on those states where we're not retaining students. In the middle section here, you can see retention by whether the students have a past due amount. As we move down the bubbles, it's just another look at our retention by CI band, but visualized differently, so that we can also see, well, our larger cohorts tend to be those upper CI bands. Retention by gender, as well as other indicators that may impact re-enrollment. And again, you see lots of conditional formatting happening here, really, so that we can see the difference in those red spots that are showing up versus the dark green. Something new that we've added that we don't have an example here, but for those of you that are familiar with the swirl that was presented by the college, I believe the first time they presented it was at the first data conference, and I think they had a session this year as well, and I know they had a session last year. We've now incorporated the swirl into our dashboard so that we can see how students are swirling in and out of new college. And that's just another iteration of the dashboard where you receive feedback from users that want to see more information, and so we can add more to the dashboard. So this is the inspiration for what you'll see next by my colleagues. And we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. And again, here, just an example of the tooltip, so you can see how we were able to get more information into the dashboard without cluttering it with even more information. We can go ahead and move forward. Again, more tooltips as an example that you would see if you were hovering over in the actual dashboard. Thank you, David. I think we can move forward. So now I'm going to pass it to my colleagues to talk with you about the process for the executive dashboard.
Thanks, Jenna. This is Mary Carrillo. Good morning, everyone. So with Jenna's dashboard as a guide and an inspiration, we moved on to developing the dashboard that we're going to show you in a few minutes. And I'd first just like to provide you with some information about the data that are presented. The dashboard includes fall undergraduates who were enrolled as of the 21st day census. And all of the student characteristics shown on the dashboard are also based on census data. Currently, the dashboard shows first-year students and new transfers with the most detailed information provided for first-year students. We also have plans to expand the scope of the dashboard in the future, which we'll talk about briefly later. Next slide, please. Actually, before we go on, I just want to let you know that if you use the tabular style dashboards that are also on the institutional analysis analytics site, those data are consistent with this new dashboard. So you don't have to worry about numbers not matching. The two dashboards just provide different ways of looking at the data. So the dashboard includes some retention and graduation rate history, but its primary focus is on the upcoming term. So the iteration that you're about to see shows the retention and graduation rate data that we tracked as we moved toward fall 2020, with a comparison to the way things looked last year at the same point in time. The purpose then is to give you a chance to see how your students are doing as we approach a new term before those numbers become fixed. Next slide, please. The fall updates are provided weekly from April through September. So that's the phase that we recently completed. The fall updates are based on Thursday's data. So you'll see new numbers in the dashboard on Fridays. We're going to be starting spring 2021 retention tracking soon. That's fall to spring. And those updates will be based on Monday's data, which means that you'll see the updated dashboard on Tuesdays. Next slide. For those of you who might want to query the data yourself, you've probably heard that the retention, or I'm sorry, all of the census tables are now in the census user database. The slide you're looking at shows the tables that contain the bulk of the relevant data. The cohort ID table contains the final retention cohorts for first-year students and transfers. The student term enrollment contains the preliminary cohorts as well as student demographics and other characteristics. And then the retention tracking table contains those weekly enrollment and degree completion updates that are shown in the dashboard. If any of you have any questions about these tables or how to gain access to them, just let me know and I'll be happy to help with that. I'm now going to turn things over to David, who did a lot of work to improve earlier drafts of this dashboard.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm David Davis and I help provide the UX strategy to the team on how to make it a better user experience for users of all backgrounds, whether they're beginners or advanced users. And I also provided the UX testing, so to make sure everything works well and things go according to people's expectations. So we're going to do a quick lightning round now of the design principles that we applied to. Oh boy, oh, you know what? I think something's not right with that acronym, so let me change that to something a little less fishy. So the Carp Principles, as opposed to the Craft Principles, are the 4 design principles that I applied in order to help to help augment what we were doing for the dashboard. So they consist of contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity. So I'm going to do a quick lightning round and show you guys a few examples of each on how we applied each of those in order to improve our executive retention dashboard. So contrast, how do we make a piece of data stand out from the rest? I mean, you have all these bars and lines and whatnot. You really want to make something stand out so that people don't have to like really hunt it down with their eyes and look for it. So contrast allows us to set elements apart from each other and captures users' attention more easily. So let's look at one issue that we encountered. So an issue is like, for example, let's say we went to the filter for college and let's say we choose design and arts. Now everything updated perfectly accordingly. Thank you, Todd. All the numbers, everything, but what really made it not as easy to notice the data was, you'll notice in the bottom is that all the bars are the same color. And a person who chose design and arts, of course, would really want that to stick out and be highlighted. So what's the solution we approached? Turn it blue. Oh man, who would have thought? Now it sticks out more easily. I mean, you can see it among the maroon bars. You don't have to hunt for it for your eyes, especially in that huge list of text. And depending on your screen size, it could also be difficult. So we did that. Let's do another quick example. Okay, so we click on the help button. What do you have? You have a help window pop up, but I don't know if anyone notices, but it kind of looks like the help menu is sort of bleeding into the rest of the screen. It's like it's got really nothing to kind of separate it. The solution, I think, speaks for itself, which is this. Well, there you go. Now it's got a black frame around it. It's got a border. We finally able to set the visual limits and people are able to see it more easily, and it's distinctive. You can see that it's a completely different window from the background as opposed to, bleeding into it. So these are examples of contrast. Next up, alignment. So alignment, it creates a clean, consistent look and may even be conceptual in nature. So it's not just visual only. Elements out of alignment can be disorienting or even distracting to users. So let's highlight that with some examples. All right, so the first issue is the filter panel. Now you'll notice pretty much like most of the drop downs, they're all in alignment with each other. They're all together, except for that top area in which like they're kind of separated by those sort order buttons, which, I mean, this not only visually is it disorienting because of the fact that you have the drop downs like separated from each other, but also conceptually, it doesn't make sense because the sort order, it's not really a filter. It's more just a way to sort whatever you filtered. So what's the solution? Swap them with each other. What I mean, who would have thought? Now, as you can see visually, it looks more aligned. All these drop downs, they look aligned. It looks like a nice, smooth, it just looks nice. Let's just put it that way. And conceptually, it also makes sense because now you have all the drop downs and filters, all together, and you have the sorting separated. What's another example? Now, at least in the Western world, when we read things, like if we're reading things vertically, we generally read top to bottom. If we read horizontally, we read left to right. So what was the issue here is that the filter panel, it did not conceptually align with the bottom area, which shows which filters are in use. So the order of items in the bottom area, for example, college, department, pine campus, they did not align conceptually with what you see in the filter panel. So what was the solution? Well, we made them align exactly along with from left to right. We made them align exactly in the same order as you see top to bottom in the filter panel. So those are the examples of alignment. Next up, repetition. So repetition helps establish consistency, develop visual organization, and strengthen unity between elements. Seeing consistent patterns allows users to adjust more easily to an interface. So basically, like people get to see trends and it helps them adapt quicker. So what are a couple of examples? Now, when you look at this, to find the issue, you don't see anything yet until I go to the next one. Oh boy, what happened to that filter panel? Why why did it get so much more narrower? Why did it get, it looks strange. It looks, and people might think that it's something completely different because you don't have that repetition. You don't have that pattern for them to adapt. So you don't have that consistent width of the panel. So what do we do in order to solve that? There you have it. Make it the same size. Why not? Make it the same size across all dashboards. And now, so when a person looks and jumps between dashboards, it just feels right. You go in between, you see the same width, you have the same expectation, and you have that comfort because you have that established pattern and understanding that, okay, this is the same tool because, it has that same repeating width. And what's another simple example I can show you folks? Okay, as you can see, you have that X button. So whenever you open up the help menu, you have the X button that appears in order to close the menu, right? It's a white colored X inside of a black circle. How about when we click the filters panel? Yeah, that X, it doesn't quite look the same, does it? Like, you don't have that same repeating pattern, and you're kind of wondering, is that the same thing? Does that X button close this? Or is that even an X button? Well, I can assure you wouldn't be the only one to think that. So what's the obvious solution? Kabam, make it the same. Make it a white X inside of a black circle. And there you have it. You got repeating patterns. So now you're establishing a better comfort level. People are more comfortable. They know what it is. They don't have to think twice about it when they look at it. They just know, okay, that's what closes it. Finally, proximity. Proximity helps establish relationships between elements by grouping objects together or placing them apart from each other. It also helps to better organize information. Like you can see in this picture, like you have different food groups separated from each other. And really, what's a simple example that we encountered of proximity? If you look at this screenshot right here, you have a help button as well as the sandwich icon right next to click here for filters. So which one do I click for filters? They're kind of next to each other, like they're a bit bunched up. So, people might not know immediately, something just visually when you look at it, it's kind of like disorienting. So what's really the solution? Separate those puppies apart. Now you have now it kind of makes a little more sense, right? The proximity, now they're separated. You have that, personal space between them. Nobody's up anyone's grill. You got the help button separately and the sandwich button separately. Now you know the relation between them. And yeah, that pretty much concludes our examples in terms of UX and what we did to enhance user experience. I'll take it over next to Todd.
Okay, I think the next slide is about access. So yeah, the main part about this entire presentation, we were trying to advertise the dashboard in general, and also just show the process of coming from an idea and going to an initial prototype, and then there was an initial dashboard. Then other people had an appetite for that dashboard, and so then how do we now make that available to everybody else, and maybe tweak it to make it a little more accessible or draw out insights just right away. So we used certain tools in this project. We had challenges, and we're going to address these in the next slides. So one of the biggest problem here, you've seen all the different, in Jenna's great dashboard, all the different ways we want to twist and turn this information, try to look at it from different angles. That can be disorienting if I want to get insight really quickly. If I'm digging into things, it's great. But how do I, as a dean, just open something up and look at it and see a trend or see a magnitude or see a change? And how do I do that on a consistent basis? All those principles that David brought up, like how do I do it without being disoriented, without crowding, without distracting from the real message of the dashboard? And we have multiple customers. So not only would deans use this, but also someone from another department might actually want to use this information. So how can we make it accessible to both those audiences? Oh, next slide. So in these tools, it would work really well. Some new things, not just tools itself, but collaboration. We use Jira. So we can assign tickets back and forth and make comments and keep track of our work. In visualization, we use Tableau. It's the current, tool of choice, especially when we're trying to just draw insights and compare trends and visual cues. I would also like to add that bringing in the QA department was a big deal, something that we're looking forward to using in a lot more projects. We also had a cross collaboration team, someone focusing on the back end that knows the data, someone focusing on the front end that can translate that data into a visualization, and then someone QA that's really focused on that customer experience. Oh, next slide. So from here, I can go into the dashboard to try to show some of the ways that we end up translating those problems into a solution and what's currently being deployed. So initially, to request access, you would go to the analytics portal for the institutional analysis reporting student data site. There is if you've already had access, you will see the link to the portal. If not, you would fill out the request access form similar to any other analytics portal request. And if you need more information on that, we can definitely help with that. Next slide. So something that's going to be common once we get access here. So not everyone. You will see this commonly. So whether a dean or anyone else, this can even happen as your login times out. When you come into the dashboard, you're going to have a link to sign into Able. There's nothing wrong. It's something that's just normal. Just wanted to familiarize this so that when people log in, they see this and they might think that their access might be broken. Really, we just need to click on it, and then we click that Arizona State University identity provider.
All right, I'll turn sharing over to you now.
Okay. Okay, so this is the live version. This is when I came into the analytics portal, and I see this visualizations area, and where I have the leadership, retention, and graduation rates link. If I click here, it's going to bring me into this kind of custom site, which really is just using the Tableau site, but kind of putting it into a kind of a wrapper to make it more look like a product than another dashboard within the rest of Tableau. So just as I said before, I'm going to click that sign into Able, click that, and now I'm back in. So there were no issues. So what we really tried to do was to bring all that wonderful information from Jenna's dashboard, and how do I make it just instantly identifiable. So we tried to limit the types of visualizations, so we don't have too many things on one screen to not know what should I be focusing on. You'll see here we have this initial dashboard pages for the leadership, for maybe a dean to come in to get a quick idea of their retention and graduation rates. And this first tab has first year and transfer students at a high level, just trying to see where am I at and what am I trending. So we have a column for the 1 year retention rates, the 4 year graduation rates, and the 6 year graduation rates. And you can see over time how that's trended. I can then compare the last final numbers I have based on the previous year's numbers and kind of see, like, am I doing better or worse as a quick glance. Then down below, you'll see I have the list of colleges and ranked by their retention. You can also see the cohort size, just have relative terms. Within the same bars, so again, raising the bar, we're going to see a lot of bars here. So we're also going to be able to compare college against colleges and also against the overall ASU average to kind of know, okay, well, how am I at compared to the ASU average in general? So the filters, we show a lot of filters. So I wanted to hide these filters. So because there's so many, it would take up most of the visual. So the fact that we can put them in a container and then pop them out and use them as we see fit really helps us to make the visual the star and not the list of filters. And you can see that the long list of dimensionality where it made it difficult. One of the main things here is, so if I'm a college, I might not, I want to see my information similar to how David showed with the blue bar. So if I come into college and I want to show new college, I can close the filters. Now I have just my default dashboard to look at new colleges, retention, graduation rates for full-time first-year students. If you look below, I can instantly highlight my college, so I can right away look to see where am I at compared to other colleges, and also compared to the ASU average. Okay, so what if I don't want to do that filter each time? If I want to give this to my dean just to be able to go in with a straight link. So one thing that's cool about Tableau is I can come in here to this view area, and I can the view I just put whatever filters I've applied. And right now it's just new college. I could have made multiple views about different subsets of the data, but I just want to call this, new college, first year, retention, and graduation. And I can make it my default. I can even make it visible to others so other people can use this view. But for now, I'll just make this my default view. Now, when I save this view, anytime I come to the dashboard, it's already filtered for New College. I already have my New College dashboard, and I could go look at others if I'd like, but when I come in for the first time, it's always going to be there for me. So some of the others we showed in Jenna's as well. We have tooltips as well. If I go over like my bar, I'm sorry, my line here. It's, right here it's smaller. You'll see it in the next tab where there's a lot more information, but I can see the cohort size of this, so I can see how the cohort's going as well. We're not really trying to track cohort change, but just so we have relative terms. And also you'll see the change in the header. So this now says New College retention graduation rates for full-time first-year students. Now I can print this out and I can put this in a PowerPoint. This is just now a product for just me or from whatever college might be using it. So I can answer any questions here. I think there's also, you saw in the tips, we have this, or in David's tips, you see this information, just trying to give the definitions of a lot of the terms that are used in the dashboard, kind of reduce the need for emailing out in case what does that mean? So this can always grow as well. So it's just a cool example of little tools you can use in Tableau to add value and maybe reduce questions. So also in this port or in this wrapper here, we can see, you've probably seen it in a few other dashboards. So I can see the names of my dashboards here. I can also make it smaller. I can folderize this. This can basically, it leads the way to start creating a suite of reports. So, and I can folderize them and name them. So now we're going to go over to the second tab that you might have seen. This one is based more on breaking apart the high level view and looking at all those different variables and seeing how do each of them track against each other. And this one is only for first year students at the current moment. And we're looking forward to, as Mary said, adding the continuing and transfers in similar views, but not, and they will just continue to grow out those dashboards. One thing to note in developing in this way is that the filter I applied before, as you can see, is back to Arizona State University, did not carry over to this dashboard. So again, I would want to come and filter for New College. And when I would do that, again, if I want to default, I would come and create that custom view, save it for New College. Anytime I come in this dashboard, my default view is just New College information from the same point of view. So looking at this dashboard, there's a lot more information. You can see a lot more bars. We're raising the bar. You can see in the top, we have a similar, we've changed the title now. I can print this out. We have some information on top, just quick, big numbers, like what's my cohort size? What's the retention? What was the previous retention? And what was the overall ASU average? So I can kind of know in general, am I doing better than last year? How am I doing compared to the university as a whole? And we come in here with all the different dimensions. But then within my New College, what's the different retention, the different styles of housing, on campus, off campus, the URM measure, the Pell recipients. And we can go on and on. It goes on to the honor college, race and ethnicity. And these are all on the same scale. So I can kind of still eyeball, now that they're all bars, I can still eyeball why is this subset, even though it contains these others, why is it so much lower than another category? Another area I might look here is the color scale. So right now the gold bars mean that we have an increase over last year. If I see a maroon bar, that means a decrease from the previous year. And what you can see here, there's a little bullet chart in there. There's a little gray bar, and you see an on-campus there. That's just kind of showing where last year was, or giving an indication, like we are above, and we're also pretty far above, I mean relatively speaking. And we're above the ASU average in that category, or just overall ASU average. How is my on-campus New College retention doing compared to retention across ASU as a whole? So we try to pack all this stuff into one visual without cluttering it or making it. So what do I look at? As long as we learn a few principles about the dashboard, dotted line is ASU average, the bar is last year, the color means better or worse, or higher or lower. So, and then we talk about tooltips. So if I hover this tooltip, I can see just for that one category, which it shows me the current, whatever the cohort I have selected, their retention, what the degree, whether it's higher or lower, and then what that previous term rate was. And I can even look down here real quick and see, like, okay, so this is 53.9% of the cohort between on and off campus, and then the trend for that cohort over time. So to add some more information, if I wanted to dig deeper without having to download all the data and then look into that, I could just hover over and get a little more information. And so I know now this one looks like we're above from last year. If I look at the trend, we're above from the previous year as well, but before that, it was a little more hectic. Some of the visuals that you might see in the middle. So we wanted to keep similar visuals together. So the bars are above near bars, proximity and similarity. But in the middle, we have a couple different charts that were requested. You can see here that this crosstab is trying to look at common dimensions that are compared together in relation to each other. And so if you see, I have ethnicity and residency selected. So now I can compare the combination of ethnicity and residency to look at that retention rate. And we have a few more in here, and we can always build this out. So we have I can go to the housing and the market. Also want to bring in up here, we also these dynamic headers. So we know we have 1 year retention rate selected for this cohort, and comparing against the previous cohort with the dates that information was updated. That's always available. So now we have a different crosstab, just comparing the market to the housing status. Now, it's using the same scale. I can, the same chart, I can update this really quickly. And these are still affected by whatever filters I have selected. So right now I have new college as the only filter I've selected. But I can still start pinpointing. I'm trying to look at a high level pinpoint of where should I start looking at, like focusing. And then it might be another team that has a lot more details, but at least I know a target to send someone to go to get more information. Below, with a more location-based type chart, trying to show like where, are there certain areas of the country that might have lower retention or graduation rates with the different filters. Something we had an issue here was the population size, with Arizona being so much higher. So we wanted to bring that out of it and really just look at retention rates relative to each other. Something else I'd like to bring up here is, like, if I select, let's see, ethnicity, like let's say, so now I want to affect all of my charts with, let's say, everything except for unspecified ethnicity. Apply that filter. It does take a little bit of time, and I'll show you a tip on that here at the end. So now it's been applied. So now if I come back, all of these numbers are based on everything that's not an unspecified ethnicity. And you also notice down here, this filters in use, this bottom thing, we have so many filters. We didn't want to show everything that was selected in all the different filters. It's more as a reminder that, hey, you do have a filter applied to this dimension, or it could be multiple dimensions across the bottom. So when I'm trying to explain my numbers, like, oh, wait, it doesn't look like I expected. Oh, but I do have a filter on ethnicity. And now I can even transition that into the tip. So a tip for when I have so many filters like that, I can pause the update. And so now I can come into these filters, and let's say I wanted to keep that ethnicity filter, but I want to add residency. Let's say I don't want non-resident. Still got some time, but it doesn't take as long as the previous update. And we can do another, and then I don't want to see Barrett. So now it kind of queues up those filters. So once I have them all selected, instead of applying one and waiting for the entire dashboard to update, then I can come back to resume, and it will update my dashboard based on all the new filters I've selected. That helps a lot, especially when you're to like 14 different dimensions that we're trying to work with. If you're exploring the data, it's great. But if you're trying to a specific subset of the population you want to see, then this is a great way to speed that up. As you can imagine, this spinning for every time I selected each dimension. Okay, so now we have a subset of the information. You can see because of housing, when I change that, right now we only have Arizona resident based on my previous filter. You can see that here in market as well, but the rest of them have now been updated so that I'm looking at that subset and I'm noticing that I'm a lot lower in this CI band. And you see the different dimensions I've now added as filters. So there's in the second tab here, and the difference between before when I went to a new dashboard on the left is I'm going to a different tab within this dashboard. And the difference here is all these filters are going to carry over to this one. And so on this dashboard, we have so much on one page. Let's go to a different page of someone that might want to look things differently. And this one's going to show your department and all the different plans or majors. And then maybe there's another subset of information that you might find insight, like why am I doing so much better in applied computing and cybersecurity? I mean, maybe how can I apply that to the rest of the majors, or why and so forth. And that, I mean, it's the same information, same headers, it's the same update. We have the same information up here, and we still get the same tooltips. Maybe it's a brand new major, maybe that's why. But we have all the same information on the same dashboard. We see the same footer on a different tab. So, and then a few other things that we might want to look at. I might have this dashboard ready to go, and it's the way I like it. It's the way my dean wants it. And say they did not want to open it up. You can subscribe to the dashboard. You can have it emailed to you once a week. You can have it emailed to you once a day if you'd really like. You can download the dashboard into different file formats in case someone doesn't have access. So I'll show a few of those things. So if I go to subscribe, I can add myself or multiple people to whatever view I have selected, or the entire workbook. What format is an image? Is it a PDF? Is an image and a PDF? And then I can type whatever message I would like based on like my reporting needs. And then I can pick the schedule I'd like the subscription to come out. So it's going to give you all these filters you have on the screen at the time you specify and email it out to whomever you've selected. Now, in the email, the image that shows up, you can click that email and go right to that same view in the dashboard. That will be limited, though, on if that person has access to the dashboard. So another way around that is the download option. Now, the download option, I can download an image. I can download just the backend data, a crosstab of whatever I've selected, a PDF, or a PowerPoint. Oh, if you have Tableau desktop, you can download it and kind of see how this is working. Now, in sake of time, I don't want to go through those steps, so I've pre-downloaded some of these. And so if I download a PDF, this is what that front page looks like. I have that front page. I can determine the size and whatnot, and this is what it's going to look like. I can download a PowerPoint.
Got about 5 minutes left for those who have a meeting at 11:30,
right.
By the way.
All right. There's an example of the PowerPoint. Just if I wanted to quickly do that, and here's an example of the image. And once that comes up, I will hand it back, or David can take it back. There's an example of the image. I can paste that into an email to anybody, whether they have the access to the dashboard or not. And then David, you can go ahead and take that screen sharing back from me.
Sure.
Before we hopefully have a little bit of time for questions, I just wanted to mention some of the ways that we plan to expand the dashboard in the future. Fall to spring retention tracking is coming for first-year students soon. We also plan to add the within college retention rates that I know were mentioned in the chat. After that, we plan on turning to continuing students and to providing more detailed information on transfer students. The additional reports will all be available at the same link that you'll find this current dashboard. So please just watch out for updates there. Next slide.
Okay, I was going to open it up for questions. I know we had a few that came through as folks were watching the presentation. And I'm just going to scroll up here and say, there were some questions about when Jenna was presenting about how to get that for yourself, for your college. And that's what we're trying to do with this dashboard. That was the direction from the provost to create an enterprise level, hence academic enterprise dashboards, an enterprise level solution so that all deans can have that information, because they were all pretty excited when Todd shared with a few of them. So that's our intent, is to build out these at an enterprise level. So we'll continue to seek input from all of you who begin to use it, and we'll be getting out information to the deans about how to access it and the like, now that we're in production. And so that's an answer to that one question. I think Nancy, you asked about within college retention, and as Mary noted in the chat, we'll be adding that kind of functionality. Trying to think if there were other big questions. I think the main thing is, are there any other questions right now? And I guess we just do those in the chat. Is that how we're handling it, Dixon, or do we open it up for
if anyone wants to just chime in, unmute their microphone, that works too.
Sure.
But it looks like all the questions got addressed in the chat.
Right.
So if anyone has anything new, chime in right now. Or I think there's one more slide with contact.
Hey, Dixon, I just have something to say. So some of you have reached out to me. So from the demo, that you may have realized that the dashboard in its current state might provide you some of the metrics that you're looking for, but you may have additional needs that you want to get addressed. So please, reach out to the team, and we want to hear your requirements and needs from this dashboard, and we want to make sure that everything is included in there. So.
Right, absolutely. That's the idea here, is that we meet the needs for all the colleges to the extent that we can. And so then this is just sort of the last follow-up in terms of how to request access, and of our team, where you would go for the specific questions. Deepak was our project manager, I should say, he's not done. Mary can answer questions about the data, Todd about Tableau and the technical workings of the dashboard, and then analytics at asu.edu about accessing it, if you have any other questions. I will add, we have begun to construct a landing page that will reside under the Provost page that we are calling Academic Enterprise Dashboards. It will be a place where you can go to get, and hopefully for the deans and other leaders to get relatively easy access to the different dashboards that we have. And so we'll be creating links there to this dashboard, to some of the enrollment tracking, the graduate dashboards. And so that's in the works.
And we will be sharing out these slides, the recording. So if you're frantically trying to write down that address right now, just know that that won't be the last time you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if no one has any questions, well, let's first get a little virtual round of applause for everybody, all the hard work, not just in this presentation, but everything that went into building the dashboard is a big, heavy lift. So thank you, everybody.